This Monday.com ad was created by a team of people and AI agents. The agents wrote the copy and managed the timelines, while our human creative director made sure it all made sense. Easy. Create your own AI agent today on Monday.com.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashlie Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm really good.
We're going to talk about when asking for help feels impossible for first responders and what that independence is actually costing them.
I think it's if you don't set up, this kind of general idea of like you may need help throughout your career. And I think that comes down to the early on in our careers is we're not provided those resources. We're not provided of this could be happening because you can never prepare for all the variables you may see throughout your career.
You know what else is really interesting is your career literally sets you up for independence. And it's basically this personality trait that's instilled in you because when you're a police officer, for example, you are a rookie and then you don't go out on your own, but the goal is to be able to go out on your own. And with that, a lot of it comes down to not having to ask those questions or make those mistakes continuously. And so that independence is something that you strive for in your career.
Yeah. And I think with striving for that independence, we start, failing ourselves is because then you start doubting yourself and you don't have anyone to bounce those ideas off of. And so it's like that domino effect that we set ourselves up for early on in our careers. It's like we need to show that we can make these decisions. We can do this on our own. And if you're not able to do it on your own, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because in the academy even, this is a profession that selects for self-sufficiency.
I was just thinking about this as I've promoted throughout the ranks, it's the higher you go in your career, the more lonely it becomes. And I think it comes down to that internal dynamic of us setting ourselves up for that independence. And in all reality, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, I get you have to have that separation between the supervisor and the officer or whatever it may be. But at the same time, you can still have a healthy relationship with your partners, with your officers, and being able to be there for one another.
Yeah. And the psychological concept here is called compulsive self-reliance. And this develops when independence becomes not just a preference, but a psychological necessity. And a lot of the times, over time especially, the nervous system begins to experience that asking for help is actually a genuine threat. And it's not, as we know.
And one thing I do have to say, like with seeing newer officers coming through, it's they are not scared, but they're more hesitant to go out on their own, being able to make those decisions for themselves. And I think it's a double-edged sword when it comes down to it, is you have people that are so reliant on one another, but then you're not able to make those decisions for yourself in those instances where you need to. And I think you need to have a healthy balance with everything when it comes to it.
Yeah. And there are signs of what this actually looks like. And I think the first is handling everything alone past the point of where it actually makes sense.
When we're always trying to focus on being right and making these decisions, and we're not incorporating others into it, it's because we have the stigma of I have to be able to come to the resolution to this problem because it's so ingrained in us. Like you come from the academy and you're going to FTO and you're told make these decisions, and you're going to make incorrect ones, especially going up through training. So you're setting yourself up when you're making these decisions. When you're on your own, you're not able to properly make those decisions on your own without relying on someone else or being able to incorporate it in such a way of I always need help.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've seen people interpreting needing help as evidence of basically personal inadequacy. And some people feel physically uncomfortable or even offended when somebody offers genuine support.
And I think that's something our own internal kind of values come into play. It's because of whatever you've experienced throughout your career, throughout your life, is when you ask for help, you're demonized for asking for it. But I think a lot of it comes down to the articulation of why you need help in these instances, instead of being able to say, I need help in this because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah, and independence is a great asset, right? I was very thankful to be raised in an environment where my dad taught me that independence very, very young. But I think that there are signs when it's become a problem. And the first is that you would rather struggle alone than let anyone see that you need something.
Because we're setting ourselves up when we're always in that struggle alone. You don't have those outlets. You don't have the way of, because I don't care who you are, you're not going to have all the tools you'll need all the time to be able to address any and every problem. Everyone has different experiences. Everyone has different exposures of what they've done, what they haven't, I can't talk, what they have or have not done. So you can be able to lean on everybody to be able to kind of have a community. Like, one thing, especially in law enforcement, is we always harp on the community that we've developed and that we have. And it's being able to trust your community without that sense of judgment.
Something else that I see is support that flows outward and then it stops at your door, or you offer to help everyone around you, but you can't actually receive it yourself.
And I think that a lot of it comes down to ego internally for ourselves, of holding on to that as like, oh, I should be better than this. And one thing that, my guys express me, I know this is a stupid question, but, and I'm like, no, there's no stupid questions. Like, I don't expect you to know anything and everything in this world. So like, let's work through it together.
Something that really sucks is when I see that the standard that you hold for yourself doesn't apply to the people that you care about, and you've normalized a level of struggle that would basically concern you if you saw it in anybody else.
And that's where, when we're holding on to this negative dynamic of, we hold ourselves to a certain standard, but we hold everybody else to a different standard. It's, why isn't it across the board standards that we're holding for each and everybody? And it's being okay to say, hey, I really don't know what to do in this situation, and being able to rely on your partners. And we always think of, oh, they're going to make fun of me. They're going to do this. They're going to say this about me. And that's not the instance in most cases. I mean, you have those assholes within every department, but it's knowing who you can trust and who are your allies and who aren't.
Something that I've seen is self-reliance eventually disconnects you from your own inner experience. And you might get to this place where you don't even know what you need anymore because you've stopped checking.
When we stop going internally and not checking on those outside avenues for that help, and we're making determinations and having that independence on a regular basis, we keep separating ourselves from our group, from our tribe on a regular, and we don't want to do that. We want to lean on our tribe, because our tribe, we're only as strong as the weakest member of our tribe. And that's why we should be all building each other up throughout that process.
Yeah, I think there are ways to be able to loosen the grip a little bit when it comes to compulsive independence. And the first is that we need to recognize that self-reliance was a tool that was built for the job, but not for the whole of who you are. And it served a purpose, but it doesn't have to be your entire identity.
And I think it's a kind of a societal thing too. It's like, we have this lone wolf mentality, is we need to go out and we need to be able to handle everything on our own and be able, I can manage this. It's easier if I do it myself than to have someone else do it. Well, one, that doesn't teach you how to delegate, how to get that support from outside avenues or sources, because someone might have a better idea of understanding of how this could be done. But it's bringing that lone wolf mentality along with you to a whole bunch of other lone wolves, so you have your whole pack of wolves.
I'm really glad you said that, because I think that help seeking doesn't have to be necessarily formal. It can start with one single honest conversation.
And I think a perfect example is you come down to say, hey, I dealt with this incident the other day. This is what I did. What are your guys' thoughts on how we can change that, or how I responded to it, or how we could do it differently, how we can improve upon it? And that's why I think it's so important for briefings and debriefings after any incident, because you're creating that normalcy when it comes to it.
Yeah. And if ego is the issue here, which I know that it is for a lot of people, I think one tool is to be able to reframe asking for help as a tactical decision and not an emotional surrender.
When we have that mindset of, well, I just give up because I can't find the solution to myself. Well, no, it's not that you gave up on it. It's how I know there's a different and better way to handle it. How can we build upon it, and how can we improve upon it for the future?
Yeah, the truth is that you would never send your team into a dangerous scene without backup, and we need to learn to just apply that same logic to ourselves. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.